What's up, boys? My name is StevieWunderKid, and we're back again with another GTA 5 car replica build. As per a lot of people's requests, today we're going to be building Alonzo Harris's 1979 Chevy Monte Carlo lowrider that appeared in the Training Day movie. And obviously for this build, we're going to be using the brand new Declasse Tahoma Coupe that was just added as part of the LS Drug Wars DLC. Now, at the time I'm recording this video, you can actually get the Declasse Tahoma Coupe from the Southern San Andreas Super Autos website for completely free up until December 18th, 2022. So, depending on when you see this video, grab this car as soon as possible. Otherwise, you're going to have to spend $1.5 million for this thing, which in my opinion is way too much money. Now, depending on which route you take, whether or not you get it for free or you pay full price for it, the aesthetic modifications are actually super cheap, so you'll only be spending an additional $50,000 to $60,000, which is really nice. So yeah, this build's super simple, so let's get right into the modifications. First off in front bumpers, we're going to leave the stock front bumper as you guys can see here. Plain and simple. Same thing for the rear, we're also going to leave the stock rear bumper. For the most part, this car was a pretty bone stock Chevy Monte Carlo in the movie, so not a lot on this build is going to change, so that makes it pretty easy. Next up for the exhaust, we're also going to leave the stock exhaust as you guys can see there. So that's all good. Hood as well, we're going to leave that completely stock. And then next up, horn, that's up to you. For the lights, we're going to leave the stock yellow headlights as you guys can see. And then obviously this car didn't have any neon, so we're going to leave those off. Next up, we have the livery, and for this, the car was just a solid black color, so we're going to leave the livery off and keep it nice and clean. So that's all good. And next up, we have the mirrors. For these, we're just going to leave them stock, plain and simple. That's all good. Next up for the plate, here we're going to choose the blue on white 2 plate to give it the classic California plate look that appeared on the car in the movie. And then if you guys want to go the extra mile to create a custom plate, depending on how you can make a custom plate, I know the iFruit app was just taken down, but if there's some way for you to make a custom plate, then the number on the car in the movie is ORP967. So that's all good. Next up for the respray, very simple respray. We're going to do a primary color for a classic black. As you guys can see here, really plain and simple. If you wanted to, you could go for a crew black to get it slightly darker, but just for vanilla GTA, a classic black is just fine. The secondary color actually really doesn't matter at all. It doesn't change anything unless you select a secondary part, so I just set that to black. And then moving into the trim color, this is what colors the interior. So if you look pretty closely at the car in the movie, it has a gray interior, and there's actually a bunch of different shades of gray that would work. Some of them just look weird. It kind of darkens it a bit when it comes to the seats and in the back portion of the car. So I don't know. There's not one really good match. I personally chose a dark steel. I think this is as close as possible to the shade of gray you could see on the car in the movie. Any other gray, like the other option I think would be rolled steel, but I think this is slightly too bright. In reality, I think the color of the interior in his Monte Carlo was between the rolled steel and the dark steel. So to keep it a little bit more realistic, in my opinion, it just looks cleaner with the dark steel for the trim color. So that's what we're going to go with. So we're going to back out of there. Next up, we have the roof, and for this, we actually are going to change something. We are going to add the sunroof, as you guys can see. Even though it is super huge, I don't know why it's so large. It kind of looks weird on this kind of car, but the car in the movie did have a sunroof, so we are going to add that to this one here. So that's all good there. Next up for the splitters, we're going to leave the stock splitter. That's all good. Next up for the suspension, this is another reason why I wish this car was a Benny's lowrider. Unfortunately, it is not, but if you guys wanted to go for the fully stock look, you could run the stock suspension, or if you wanted to go full lowrider mode and slam it, you could do the competition suspension too, because a lot of the time the car is driving in the movie at its highest ride height. I think either the stock or something like the lower suspension would be the most realistic to that. You never really see the car fully slammed out, which is why either the stock or the lowered is probably the most accurate to the one in the movie. So that's all good there. Transmission, turbo, that's up to you. Next up for the wheels, this is actually really simple. We're going to go obviously for a lowrider wheel, and for this I went into the chrome rims category and I chose the triple golds, as you guys can see here. Now, in reality, the rims that were on the Monte Carlo in the movie had like this almost pointed cover over the lug nuts in the center. Unfortunately, you can't get that for any wheel type in the lowrider section in GTA, so I think to match the style of the spokes the best, I think the triple golds are probably the best match you're going to get, besides, of course, the little cover that goes over the center of the rim. So triple golds in fully chrome, I think that's the best match you're going to get. And then moving back out of here, obviously going into tires for the tire design, we are going to go with the custom tires so we can get the nice white wall look. So that's all good there. Tire enhancements and smoke, that's up to you. And then for the windows, we're going to leave the tint off. In reality, there was a slightly darker tint on this car, but I think light smoke is a little bit too dark. So I think probably no tint is the most accurate you're going to get. So that's really about everything you're going to need. Very simple build. Again, I wish this was a Benny's lowrider so we could have functioning hydraulics for this car, but I think this is as close as possible that we're going to get the Tahoma Coupe to Alonzo Harris's Monte Carlo from the Training Day movie. So I hope you guys enjoyed this build, a very quick one, but I hope that it helped you out. Leave any suggestions for future builds you'd like to see me do down in the comments, and with that said, I hope you all have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.